So very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on a Monday night on the West Ham Voice. I hope you've all had a pretty good weekend and enjoyed the win, because it was a really good win against Sunderland at the weekend, wasn't it? It was really. Let me turn that down. It was really pleasant to be at the stadium. Great atmosphere, great game, and a really good win. Of course, the one thing that we are reminded of is that on Sunday, we're reminded that we're not the only club in this relegation battle and fighting to stay in the Premier League, because I don't know what the result is against Leeds and Everton tonight, but as we found out on Sunday, Burnley, sorry, not Burnley, Forest beat a really a weak-looking Brentford in order to keep that 5-point gap. And that kind of brought us down to a bit down to earth, really, didn't it? But nothing to take away from the performance, because the performance was absolutely fantastic for West Ham United at the weekend. And long may it rain, and there's still that hope. We've got to be, hopeful that we can drag other teams into this relegation fight, because there are teams like Spurs and Crystal Palace. If they end up losing Mateta, Crystal Palace could be really in the thick of it as well. So all to play for, especially if we continue in the vein that we have done. There's also the latest I'm going to talk about, of course, the transfers, Lucas Paqueta drama still unfolding as we speak. I'm going to bring you up to date on that later on. And then the small matter of how we're going to spend the money that we get from him, because it looks like we're getting our way. We're going to get more money than all this deal with added bonuses and all that sort of stuff that some say were unachievable or not worth having as add-ons. And then the latest stories about who else we're targeting, and if the ITK is close to West Ham or anything to go by, it seems that we've got another half a dozen players coming into the club. There are players like last week I spoke about Radu Dragusin, and then of course today there's excuse me, Harry Maguire, and Atalanta's Isak Hein, who I'm going to speak about later on as well. And then, of course, we're hearing news that more players are going to leave. We now know that Guido Rodriguez has gone, and there's been an offer in, or apparently a verbal offer in, for Crescencio Summerville. So we'll talk about that later. But why don't we start with the curious case of a Qatari being in town? Because as we all know, I'm sure you all have found out by now, there was a Qatari who is a multi-billionaire, was at the game at the weekend. Apparently his car was seen in the director's parking space, and everyone got excited, especially with the news that according to Company's House, 2 directors have been removed from West Ham United midweek, and they were David Sullivan and Daniel Kretinsky's sidekick, Jiri Schwartbark. I can't pronounce it, but Jiri for short. But then the following day, of course, Jiri and David Sullivan were reinstated as directors of West Ham United. But add to that, the Qatari being in town, everyone got really excited, thinking that Ali Hussein Al Fadan was going to be the next investor or the owner of West Ham United. Nothing to see here, I'm afraid. So we're going to cover all. Well, we've covered that. I'm going to cover the transfers, going to cover the game, reflect on the game against Sunderland later on. But before I do all that, if you're new to the channel and yet to subscribe to the West Ham Voice, all you've got to do is click on that QR code that's appeared in the top corner there, and you become a subscriber of the channel free of charge. If you enjoy the show, please hit the like button either during or after the show. Please hit the hype button, which allows other viewers, you promote the channel, the video for me, for other viewers to watch. And if you're feeling really generous, you can become a member of the channel at $1.99 a month. Although I haven't done an awful lot of updates for you members, and I do apologize for that. But for $1.99 a month, you would get extra content, and all the money, for all the proceeds from the membership scheme, goes to Prostate Cancer UK. Now, what shall I do? Before I do any of that, let's start off with a little poll, because I want you to tell me what is it that we need at West Ham United? What's the most urgent thing that we need right now? And let's get that poll off the ground. So, do we need a goalie? Do we need a central defender or a creative midfielder with Lucas Paqueta going? Although some people would argue he wasn't that creative. Or do we need a striker? So you go ahead and tell me, and I'll look at the poll findings later on. I am going to get to all your comments as well, but why don't we start very quickly, because we do a little round robin of all West Ham news, and start off with the ladies team, because the ladies team won their first away win of the season under new coach Rita Guarino. The West Ham women's team got their first away win when they were playing Leicester City, which has taken them a little bit away from the bottom of the league. Well, 1 place and 1 point off the bottom, but at least we're not in the relegation zone. Only one team goes down in the women's league. So a goal in both halves proved decisive for the West Ham women's team. Verena Hanshaw scored the opening goal on 34 minutes, and in the second half, Shakira Martinez grabbed the second on 63. So well done to them for getting their first away win of the season. Next up for them, if you want to go and support them, they're only playing Spurs at the weekend. So if you've got a bit of time, go and support them there at home. How about the academy teams? Doing relatively well, okay, for the academies. The under-18s were back to winning ways with the 2-1 away win over Birmingham City on Saturday. After going a goal down, Martin Pachev and Joe Scanlon scored for the Young Hammers in a deserved away win. They have steadily been climbing up the table and now 6 level on points with Southampton and only 3 points away from third place. And next up is Southampton. So a win will over them will leapfrog them in the league. So well done to them. The under-21s, a stunning stoppage time strike by Tyrone Akpata ensured West Ham United's extended unbeaten run in Premier League 2 went to 9 matches. That's a fantastic result. Rescuing a late point and a 2-2 draw against Norwich City at Rush Green. It was a pretty difficult game for the under-21s, the development team. They had to come back twice from being 1-0 down and then 2-1 down. But their resilience and patience paid off, and they got a share of the points. They're now 8th in the league, in the development league. Now, the development league is something like 28 teams now. They used to have it separated a bit like the under-18s. They used to have a Northern and a Southern league, but no more. It's all like, and I think the top 10 teams go into playoffs and all that sort of stuff. So well done to West Ham. Next up for the Hammers, Young Hammers, is Boston United in the quarterfinals of the Nations League Cup on Tuesday evening. So if you can get a ticket to go to Boston, good luck there. How about some players on loan? Well, we've got quite a lot of players on loan. 8 West Ham United loanees were in action over the weekend across the English League and abroad. George Earthy, back on loan again at Bristol City, was in the starting 11. It's the first time he started for Bristol City this season after rejoining the club. He played the opening 45 minutes of their home win over Championship bottom side Sheffield Wednesday. In League One, Caelan Casey was in action for Leyton Orient. He's made his first start for them after he went on loan to them. And they were edged out 2-1 away at third place Bolton Wanderers. Staying in League One, Gideon Kodua was unable to extend his scoring run after finding the net in each of his previous 4 appearances. Luton Town slipped further back in the playoff race against Plymouth Argyle, who made it 4 wins in a row for them. In National League, Mason Terry's Braintree Town, he started off really well, Mason Terry, but now not so good. Not just him, but the whole team, I guess. But Mason Terry's Braintree Town dropped into the relegation places following a 5-0 drubbing away to leaders York City. Also in the 5th tier, Junior Robinson was amongst the substitutes for Boreham Wood, as they fell to back-to-back league defeats for the first time this season, losing 3-1 away to Altrincham. Abroad, Callum Marshall was introduced with the scores level for VfL Bochum away at promotion chasing Elversberg. But despite 2 late efforts in stoppage time, the Northern Ireland International was unable to find a winner, as Bochum were held to a 4th successive Bundesliga 2 draw, finishing 1-1. In Serie A, he's going great guns, isn't he? Nicholas Fulkrug, he stayed fit, even though he's got a broken toe. featured in the final 20 minutes of AC Milan's 1-1 draw against Roma at the weekend. And also in Serie A, remember him, Maxwell Cornet? He was his second half sub as Genoa moved further clear of relegation with a 3-2 win over Bologna. Well done, Maxwell. Maybe you will get that permanent move after all. And finally, in Hungary, Christian Hegyi, excuse me, made his competitive debut for MTK Budapest, helping them secure their first league victory since early November with a 3-2 win over Kisvada. Right. Let me go into your comments and see what comments you have before I get into the next part of the show. 2102, you're probably right, Michael. I hope you're well. Good evening to you. Good evening, Toe. I hope you're well. 2103, good evening to you, Foxes. How are you? We've got our surprise in with Tati and Pablo. Now it's down to the last day to get Traore. It's the yes way. I think Traore is going to be sooner than you think. I'm not a fan, but, you know, anyone that's going to wear a West Ham shirt is going to get my support. Harry, good evening to you. Well, I'm not that late. I hope you're well, mates. Good evening to you, Stephen. How are you, mate? Thank you for joining. What have we got here? Another great win for West Ham again. Absolutely fantastic. Took the gloss off a little bit with Forest winning. Now, I'm desperate to know the score, so give me a second here to see what the score is in the current game. I'm probably sure you put it up in the chat, but let's see. Typical 1-0 to Leeds. There you go. 1-0 to Leeds. Good evening, Anthony. I hope you're well. Anthony again. Will some fans stop believing in what you read or hear? Summerville and Bowen are not going anywhere. Why you believe in rumours is beyond my understanding, because they're there, because they're there to incite anxiety and anger and, oh, the board are selling all our players, when in fact sometimes they're not. Darren, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Gaza. How are you? Leeds are 1-0 up, playing a weakened Everton team, and it's all Leeds. There you go. That's typical West Ham, isn't it? It's just our luck. Trudge. Leeds made the signings I wanted us to. You're going to have to tell me who they made. Who did they sign? Let's scroll down. Daniela, good evening to you. 2 great West Ham wins at the weekend. The lads 3-1 versus Sunderland, and the girls 2-1 away at Leicester, though our keeper, she was carried off on a stretcher. Hope she's okay. Haven't heard any news, but if I do, I will give you an update there. Philip, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I said a couple of weeks ago, 8 wins needed to stay up. We have had 2, so 6 out of 15 needed now, and it will drag others into it. I agree. It will start dragging other clubs into it. But Forest and Leeds, you know, I guess they're the ones initially we're looking at, but we can start looking higher in terms of who did I say? Crystal Palace and Spurs. But you know, if we can get closer to Forest and Leeds, then it's even we're kind of like mentally a lot closer to Spurs and Crystal Palace as well, aren't we? I hope Everton pull back. You know, don't really care about Everton winning, but I hope this time round they pull back. Who else have we got here? DC, good evening to you. Can't a single effing result or decision go our way this season? Why do you hate us? Jesus. I think that sums it up, DC. Hope you will. Harry, we are going to Wembley. My knees have gone all trembly. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? You know, a Wembley visit would be nice. Good evening to you, Yuha. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Michael, Thomas Frank, looking as old as Roy Hodgson, stressed out of his mind. It does it to you, doesn't it? Especially when you're managing a top 6 club. Who else have we got here? Yuha again. Like they are beating Everton. Also, Forest won at the weekend. It is feeling it won't help us at all. Even if we win half our games the rest of the season, you never know. They might still slip up. You know, they might still slip up. Lee, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Moyes is throwing the game against Leeds. He wants to see Sullivan go down. Who else have we got there? Steve, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Leeds winning Palace in 3-4, so it's going to the wire. It will. I think we're going to see other clubs, you know, being dragged into this, and that can only bode well. We can't just, in a way, we can't just focus on the 2 clubs just above us, Leeds and Forest. You know, if there are more teams in that mix, that's more to aim for us. You know, psychologically, it will give us a boost. Billy Bob, good evening, mate. Thank you for gently caressing that like button. If you're enjoying the show, please also caress the like button. 2 up, 2 down. Good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Lane Lounge, good evening, lads. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Who else have we got here tonight? John, hello, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining as well. Bill, good evening. They've spent the Paqueta money on Pablo and Tati. Kind of, but kind of no. Because we did have, if you remember what was being said in the summer, there was quite a lot of money available. Well, let's put it another way. If you listen to David Sullivan, he kept saying, "Oh, we don't have the money." But all these PSR experts were saying West Ham can afford to spend a bit more money. They're still not getting PSR trouble. So I don't know. All of a sudden, the money's there. James, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Arthur. We should be 2 up. Who should be 2 up? Is that Leeds? Jonathan, get dancing. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Bill. How are you, mate? Thank you for joining as well. Good evening, Leon. How are you? Thank you for joining too. Andy, good evening. To be nice to be happy at the weekend again after a league match. Twice on the trot, much better than being miffed off and kicking stuff around the house. I totally agree. Victor, how are you? Thank you for joining. We shouldn't rely on other teams. We need to do the job ourselves. Absolutely agree with that, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, it's in the lap of the gods, the others. But so long as we keep winning, that will put pressure on the teams above us. Aaron, good evening, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Iron Discipline. How are you, mate? Thank you for joining as well. Mr. Lindsay, I hope you're well, mate. Exciting but strangely scary times. Sadly, Leeds are winning 1-0. Look, it makes it more interesting, doesn't it? We've always said, you know, at least if we put up a fight, if we go down fighting, and then rather that than the insipid way we've been losing games over the most of the season. So it will make it exciting. It will make it interesting. It will gee us up in, getting the atmosphere going, etc. And if we keep winning, the other teams above us have got to do the same. Jace, good evening, mate. How are you? Thank you for joining as well. Mr. Boyce, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. It doesn't matter what other teams do. If we can win 7 matches, we will probably stay up. Good to see you on Saturday. Was it your birthday last Saturday, or was it the week before? Or do you have a birthday every weekend, Ronnie? I hope you're well, Bruno. I hope all is well with you. Who else have we got here? Good evening to you, Pete. How are you, mate? Looks familiar. Hien is not good enough from what I've seen when he's played in our Sweden's national team, but obviously he's been better in Serie A. That's interesting because he's Sweden's captain, isn't he? So is he? Would he not be good enough? I don't know. That's an interesting comment, though. So I can't be honest. I can't say. I know. I can only read what I've read about him through the sort of details online, but I haven't seen him play. Good evening, John. I hope you're well. A miracle is what we need. Who knows? A miracle may indeed happen. Trodge. Should have been pre-season. When not pre-season, should have been when Jan window opened in time for Wolves and Forest. Yeah, I agree. You know, we always seem to do our business a little bit late, but at least we're doing some business. Colin, how are you, mate? It was a great win and the performance was great, but I think the best signing we have made is Yemes. I think that is the best business we've done. He has influenced the way we are playing. I did suggest it. I suggested it after the Spurs game, and I thought maybe it's a bit silly saying that. And then looking at what he was doing on the bench at the weekend, having arguments with Nuno, disagreeing with him for bringing Max Kilman on, etc. Long may it rain. You know, he is the yang to his yin, or there's yin to his yang, whatever the saying is. He's the antithesis of Nuno, and good. And he, as he said in his interview, he wasn't brought there just to be a silent partner in what's going on. He was there to bring his ideas, to be forthright, and long may it rain. Peter, I think that's why we're playing more on the front foot. Yemes, ironically, I talked about him last week and I talked about him midweek. Yemes is a defender. He was a defender by trade, but for some reason, he's become an attack-minded. Maybe it's that the inner Yemes wanting to be a striker, but always played in defence when he was a kid. And now he is sort of a more attack-minded coach. But great, because it gives us a balance. It means that we're playing more on the front foot. And if it's his influence, then so be it. Peter, the team that finishes bottom of Women's League playoff against Championship women's side, do they? I didn't know that. So thank you for... I didn't know that. I should have known that, but I didn't know that. Thank you for that, mate. DC again. I do love how the absolute divs have placed all the credit on the new coach. Ridiculous. There's me spouting all these plaudits for the new coach, and you just shot me down, DC. But that's fair enough. You got that. It might be, might not be. Daniela, in Botton's team for playoff. Yeah, okay. That's two people who have told me that now. Thank you for that. Good evening, Angus. How are you? 15 matches left with 20 points from those matches. To take us to 40 points, make us safe. Is 20 points, for example, 6 wins and 2 draws doable? It is. After seeing the way we played in the last 2 games, of course, we've got a big game at the weekend against Chelsea. If we can do something there, get a draw, then that's one of the, and that's a draw of the 2 that you've been highlighting there. We just got to keep going, haven't we? We've got this newfound feeling. Even if we lose, that we've got to bounce back. And not sort of be down. 2 great wins, well, 3 great wins, if you include the QPR game, but even if we don't get the result we want at the weekend, the important thing is to bounce straight back and go on. I think we got Burnley afterwards, haven't we? And go and beat them. DC Everton looked diabolical. It's typical. Stephen, it would seem that all the potential relegation sides are spending big. They are indeed. It's not great going down, and that's going to hurt for teams that do get relegated. It's going to hurt financially. It's going to hurt losing all your best players, etc. Josh, ain't no way we can rely on Forest and Leeds to slip up. We've got to do it ourselves and pull some magic out of our asses. Our only hope is hoping that Palace, Spurs, etc. slip down with us. Absolutely. Dom, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Daz. How are you, mate? Thank you for joining as well. Iron Discipline. Every game I keep saying, this is the one. This one is proving grounds. I'm wrong. Every game is the proving. This one is the proving grounds. I'm wrong. Every game is proving grounds, which makes the lack of business immediately a bit anxiety inducing. There's a lot going on business wise. We will not be the same squad at the end of this transfer window. And it surprised me because I suggested that, if we got 2 or 3 players in, I'd be very surprised. I'm very surprised how many players have left and how many players are coming in as well. Do I count La Madrid? I'm not sure I do. Traore is wasted. He's not for me. But if he can pull on that shirt and, get down that, it's just his end product that disappoints me, Traore. He's got everything he needs about him. He's strong, he's fit, he's fast, etc. But it's just the end product or the lack of end product that worries me a little bit. Dom, apart from against us for Wolves, DC, I don't know what that's in answer to, but yes, mate. Graham, I was watching Pablo at the weekend. He produces some very effective link-up play. He's getting stick from people. I don't get it. He's not going to be. To me, is another type of Souček, but further up front. He's not going to be glamorous. He's not going to do all the tricks, etc. But he's going to graft, and that's what we need at this moment in time. We need players that are going to graft, players that are going to be getting themselves right in there and fighting for the cause. And it surprised me pleasantly just how much Tati and Pablo have been fighting for the cause. I'm really pleased. Because I did also, suggest that there's something odd about the transfer fee that we paid for Pablo. £20 million when all Gil Vicente paid for him in the summer was 250 grand or 250,000 euros, even less. So, yeah, it was a bit of an eye-opener. But if he's going to help us stay up, then it's £20 million well spent, I think. Jonathan, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Just hoping you two can just find the extra premiered yard looking industrious. Yeah, I think they've put in shifts. I think they've been really, really good. Darren, I hope Spurs keep Frank as manager. Their next few fixtures are hard. Who knows? In the next few weeks, we might be looking at the likes of Spurs and Crystal Palace and going 2 points away from overtaking them. Imagine that. Ronnie, Leeds and Tottenham have hard matches and Leeds play Nottingham Forest. So there you go. So there's a lot to play for. Absolutely. Things are pretty bad at Palace. They could easily be involved in a relegation fight. I mean, after, the manager saying he won't be there at the end of the season. I mean, oh, wow. Even Moyes didn't do that to us, did he, in his final season? He kept his decorum about him. So, yeah. Mark, Leeds not having a problem with the top teams. They're good. Look, let's let's give them credit where credit's due. Well done to them. They changed the system and they've gotten better. Ironically, similar to what we've done, we've changed our system and we've gotten better. We're playing 2 up top or 4-1-1, and we're getting better and we look better. Josh, Everton looks so bad. It reminds me of us under Moyes, having practically no chances on goal whilst being defensively solid. Well, they're 1-0 down, so not that defensively solid. All we can do, Stuart, is win our matches. No one is going to give us anything. Absolutely agree. Iron discipline. Despite the developments of Traore here and there, there's a part of me saying it's only going to be Tati and Pablo this window, as January transfers are always kind of anomaly takes place. More are incoming, I guarantee you. And Traore will be announced either tomorrow or Wednesday. So there are more coming. John, win at Chelsea, draw at Burnley. I'd rather win at Chelsea and beat Burnley. That would be fantastic. Evening to you, Dark Star. How are you? What is going on with Leeds? We closed the gap. They open it up again. They're a good team. You know, they've changed it around. They're a good team. Bill, I think if we got money there to spend, we should definitely get a player or two in. Have faith. We will. Whether they're the players that we want is another matter, but we will be getting more players in. Harry, Stel just said hello to him and Lord Bong. Can't see them in the chat. Have they been mincing with GP? I don't know. I don't. They're there somewhere. Brendan, if Jess in the chat, Jeff in the chat, Harry can't see him. Oh, you're talking to each other. You're not talking to me. George, Everton not had one shot on target. Sound familiar? Very familiar. Daz, we are playing well at the moment. Hopefully it continue against Chelsea. It's a big test. It's a big test. Now, we've done it against Spurs at their ground, who are not playing this that well at the moment. We did it at home against QPR, kind of expected, but we did it also against a pretty decent Sunderland team who everybody thought, including myself, were going to go straight back down at the end of this season, and they proved absolutely no way. So Chelsea's a new test. Did you see them? They were flying, weren't they? It looks like they don't need any defenders because they just keep attack. Week before, mate, I thought it was, you know me, you know, my memory, Bruno. Can't remember anything. Bowling Lounge. Feel like I'm in some kind of Twilight Zone, Togs, after watching Brentford yesterday and now Everton tonight, both putting in awful performances just when you need them to do us a favour. But then no one, as people have been saying, no one should be doing us favours. We should be doing ourselves favours. Kevin, Everton playing better this half, let's hope. Wow, if they can get a goal back, Kevin, then all great for us, isn't it? Josh, Everton are applying some pressure. How quickly that's changed. Let's hope they get something. The first half an hour, everyone was dissing them, and now all of a sudden they've turned up at their own ground. Chris, Bridlington calling, mate, how are you? Maybe he's the ding to his dog. Good evening, Lawrence. How are you, mate? From Lexington, Kentucky. I love that when people say where they are. I love it. I hope you're well, Lawrence. Thank you for joining, mate. Much appreciated. Who else have we got here? Let's go. Other people. John Murdoch. How are you, mate? Everton's front line don't look like they could score. Brothel. Sean, good evening to you. Mr. Steady Hands, how are you, mate? Thank you for joining. It's the potential injuries we may have that cause me anxiety too. That I agree with. And that's why Bruno keeps talking about balancing the squad or rebalancing the squad and having options. That's why I'm looking at the results at the moment. Central defender is way out there on the poll. You know, I agree. To me, that's got to be the priority, because if we lose Todibo or Mavropanos, we thought we lost Mavropanos, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, and he made a miraculous recovery. But if we lose one of them, that worries me. Kilman just doesn't have, he's just not, it doesn't have the confidence. He just doesn't have the confidence, you know, and even when he was coming on, excuse me, with a couple of minutes left, people booed him. I hate that. Fans did that to Mavropanos last season. I think it was outrageous. And now fans are booing Kilman when he comes on. You just don't do it. You may not like him as a player, and I don't particularly, but you don't boo your own. Bill, thoughts on Mavropanos? But yeah, I agree with you. If we lose our current defenders, Kilman playing doesn't fill me with confidence. Bill, thoughts on Mavropanos squaring up to his counter number? Noticed this a lot more recently. No one is lying down. Influence of Tati maybe. Looks like he'd argue with his own shadow. It was weird because that was the time when Matthias Fernandes took that shot and hit the crossbar, and all they were doing was just squaring each other up. You know, that ball just flew over their heads. They were right in the goal area. The ball flew over their heads, bounced down, and they were still squaring each other up. when the ball was bouncing all over the shop. That was a bizarre moment. Abuai, good evening to you. Traore may not have the final product, but what he does do is occupy fullbacks and keep defenses higher, and his essence giving us more space when we want to close the game out and sit back. Totally agree. That he's got his uses. I agree, and you're absolutely right. He may not have the final product, but he's useful. He's useful, and I can see him coming on. Hopefully, not to the detriment of Callum Wilson coming on. It'd be good to see them both coming on in the last 10, 15 minutes of a game. Give us more options, out wide, up front, and all that. Because Callum Wilson did an effective job. Just that he was keeping the defenders occupied, keeping them further up, further back. In that respect, I agree with you. Forgive me for mispronouncing your name. Huge. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Been watching Everton Leeds. Everton are awful. How are they not down the bottom? I don't know. Also, the stadium looks like every other and no atmosphere. The London Stadium on TV does look good. It looks impressive, the London Stadium, until you're standing. Well, where I am, I'm happy. The atmosphere is good. I know it's not so great in the upper tiers. Josh, I see polarizing opinions of Pablo. He's either great at holding up play, getting stuck in and linking up, or he's clumsy, no skill. Look, he's a bit of both. Let's be really honest. He's a little bit of both. He does remind me in a way of sort of lumbering around a little bit like Souček, but he's got a bit more skill than Souček. No disrespect to Souček. We know what we get with him. But the fact that he links up play between the midfield and attack, for me, is worth his weight in gold. He sits in that pocket just behind the striker, in between the midfield and the striker, knocking balls down. That's why, you see the difference now. Areola pumping the ball in the middle, because it's going to Pablo, who's going to knock it down or control it or whatever. But he had a golden chance during the game on Saturday, and boy, did he sky it. I mean, honestly, it was like, mate, you're going to score. It's going to be 2-0. And the way he just, I think he got excited and he just flung himself at it. And it went, so I think it's still orbiting the earth. Flyfox, good evening, mate. Pablo needs to sort his feet out. Seems a little clumsy, but it does seem like he and Tati are opening things up for Bowen and Summerville. And that's the great thing. We've all of a sudden seen Summerville and Bowen come to life. Why? Because you've got Tati and Pablo in the middle occupying defenders, which means that they're not doubling up on Summerville and not doubling up on Bowen. And that is really, really good to see. DC, make some attacking changes, boys. He's not our manager anymore, but I know, I get it, DC. Andy, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. The outs are far outweighing the incel. Yeah, but think about who the outs are, because it's, it's not as if we're players that we've been crying to keep. We get Pablo Forrester getting Mateta. I know. Palace, Strand Larson, possibly. Yeah, Pablo works hard, mate. We need quality he doesn't have. I get that. But as other people have said, he's got other uses. Just like Traore, he's going to have other uses. You know what we need? We need grafters. And yeah, I like Mateta. If I thought we could get Mateta, could we have got him? I don't know. But yeah, he's a decent striker, decent goal scorer. But you know what that's going to do? It means that Crystal Palace without him are going to drop like a lead balloon. And Palace getting Strand Larson to replace him, I don't think he'll be as effective, to be quite honest with you. Iron discipline. If the school of thought is batter them in the first half, as in James, second half Nuno, defend with potential counter-attacks from the likes of Wilson. For games we need to be 3-0 plus 3-0 up plus in goals at the half time. 3-0 up by half time. We kind of did say that jokingly, will 3 goals be enough to see us through the game? So, Darren, Pablo grafts and keeps defenders occupied. He may lack technique, but he's young. There's plenty of time to learn. I agree with that too. Anthony Traore is crap. He hasn't done anything with any club that he's played for. Why we keep scraping the bottom of the barrel? Look, he ain't my cup of tea, but as has been confirmed by others, he will keep their defenders occupied, and I get that. Dark Star. 3 wins away from being 1 point away from Palace and Spurs. We have to believe we can catch them. We have to believe we can beat Chelsea. Imagine what will happen if we did beat Chelsea this weekend. Wow. Josh, personally, I think Brentford and Leeds losses relegated us. Everything after those games felt like hammering it home. Yeah, Brentford, Leeds, Wolves away. There were a number of games that Bournemouth when we were winning. There were a number of games that you can point to and say, that could have been the game changer for us, for the season. Kevin, is Toulouse looking at more than 35 million for Cresswell? He's one we need. I'm still not overly convinced on Cresswell. I think he's a decent player, but I don't know what they're asking for. I think the last time I did a report on Cresswell was that they were looking at the upper end of 25 million. So I don't know whether they're now looking for another 10 million on top of that. Fly Fox, the thing about Leeds is that they were solid last year and kept a lot of their players. They have the same coach far more than a few months and got a few upgrades in certain positions. They've done really well. They've done, hats off to them. They've done really well. My apologies, I can't read all your comments out, but I'm trying to get through as many as I can. Andrew, I fear we've left it too late. It feels like reminiscent of the 2003 season where we just ran out of games and relegated with 42 points, and that could be possible. Billow. Moyes will end up signing Ward-Prose and Souček next season. He'll end up taking them down if they ain't careful. Galispera, good point that. Galispera for Takis, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. John, realistically, we need a minimum of 7 wins from 15 and hope that at least one team has a disaster. Palace and Spurs are 2 clubs in the dire straits, but I can see them both hitting 40 points minimum. Well, as has just been suggested, maybe we need just a little more than 40 points. Dark Star, the good thing is Chelsea play a tough game at Napoli on Wednesday. They may not be back till late Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Not much time for them to prepare for 5:30. But they've got a big squad. Colin, Stel, what I'm worried about is the home games against Man United and Man City. They will be crucial games coming up. We can't afford to lose against them. I would want all 6 points, but we'll be happy with 4. Man United have picked up, haven't they? And Man City are always a team that you're going to be in. I don't want to be defeatist, but if we get a point from each, I'd be happy. But if we get a win out of either of them, then even better. Graham, Everton applying loads of pressure on Leeds. Come on, Leverton. Come on, Moisey. You know you can do it. 1-1. There you go. There you go. There you go. Now, David Moyes, all you've got to do is find a winner. Oh, hang on a minute. He's bringing on 5 defenders. There you go. 1-1. Thank you. What good timing there. Everyone's celebrating as if we scored. John, Kilman isn't the player we thought we were getting, but he doesn't go out to play poorly. No, of course he doesn't. No player goes out to play poorly. I agree with you, John. But he just hasn't got the confidence. He doesn't seem to have had that energy. There's something quite worrying about his demeanour. I don't know. Martin, I completely agree, Stel. I hate fans booing our own players. Kilman was tremendous at Wolves, but he's absolutely no confidence since joining us. Yes, James, the Moisiah has spoken. Ray, thank you, Moyes. We're all supporting Moyes now, are we? Pablo's 21, so surely he can only get better. Absolutely. Absolutely. I like his rawness. Do I think he's worth 20 million? Probably not. But like I said earlier on, if that 20 million helps to keep us up in the Premier League, then it's 20 million well spent. And he's doing a job. Everton have just hit the bar. I do now, Stuart. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. I am catching up. I'm not that far away from being live chat now. Bolin, I'm a little behind in my stream. Everton has just scored. Yeah, you could have read the comments and you would have realised they scored half an hour ago. Barry, good evening, mate. It was interesting at Spurs. We've heard that Noble had disappeared from the official club website. And one of my mates asked Ginger at halftime, Noble was still at West Ham. And he said, no. That's interesting. And I'm going to look into that. I will ask if that's true. That's very interesting. Okay, Barry. I'm gonna follow that up and ask around and see if there's anything, any substance to that. If Pablo side-footed his shots, he'd be a lot more accurate and still have power. He skied 2 chances. Well, we saw 1 definite. Good evening, Epic. How are you, mate? DC. We've had some scandalous VAR decisions, though. Brighton and Forest one's robbed us of 5 points right there. That's very true. That's very true. Bill. Beating Chelsea is no different than Arsenal losing to Man United. Anything can happen and anything is possible. Do you know what? I was really pleased that Man United won. Not because I care about Man United, but it was just about seeing Arsenal lose. I was happy. I was happy seeing that result. Epic. Still, we could win the FA Cup if we play like this every game and still get relegated. Would I take it? I'd take a day out at Wembley. I I'd rather not go down because of it. But if our season ended where we got relegated and then we can win a trophy, we'd be a team. What you know? What I'll tell you what. It could end up meaning that we might keep more players than we think because we'll end up being in Europe. Does that have a logic? You know, if we win the FA Cup, we'd be in Europe, so we might get to keep some of the players that we know we'd lose if we just got relegated. So I wouldn't take it in place of getting relegated. I wouldn't be like, oh, FA Cup and relegated, I'm fine. You know, if we got relegated and we played in the FA Cup and won it, then potentially we could look at keeping some of our better players because we can offer them European football. That might just keep them. And it might also just give us the impetus to go, let's get back up, straight away. First time of asking. So in a roundabout weird sort of way, yeah, I take a FA Cup win in the hope that we keep our best players or some of our best players, and in the hope that it will give us a boost to come straight back up next season. So yes, ironically, I would kind of take it. Not that I want it, but I would take it. John, how come Souček can now make 38 passes, 78% success v Sunderland, yet under Loppy and Potter, he was making 8 passes per game and not getting them to where they were meant to go? John, that's a very, very good point because he's being utilised in a very different way. Really good point, that, mate. Mark, epic, win it and stay up for sure. There you go. Win it and stay up. Our record against City is horrific. Time for a change, Andrew. Time for a change. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got here? Ricky Ioannidis, Greek. Hello, mate. How are you? Perfect logic and could attract good players in the summer. And yeah, you know, we won the FA Cup. Give Callum Wilson a proper contract. Get him to teach Pablo and Traore to finish. Good night, Yuha. Thank you for joining, mate. Really much appreciated. Always a pleasure to see you. Harry, sex and drugs and car coal is definitely on the books at West Ham. Sean, what? Pablo? Might be better than that. More Fark subs, another goal incoming. Oh, for who? Fly. We would have to we have to have a giant squad if we were in the Championship and Europe at the same time. We absolutely would. More games to play in the Championship and European football to boot. Goodness me, that I'd toy around with a fixture list, wouldn't it? Mark, good evening, Stout. What do you make of Nuno's new attacking coach? I like him. I talked about him last week. Talked about him midweek. Talked about him briefly earlier on in the show. Yeah, he's the yin to his yang. You know, he brings a balance, and that's really, really good to see. And since he's arrived, is it coincidence that we've been more attack-minded? Graham, good evening. I've done that one, Graham. No, it's not Graham. Sorry, Ricky. Graham. Everton out shooting Leeds 6-1 with 71 possession. Let's hope they don't get sucker punched. Frog, evening still. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Lawrence. I hope you're well. I'm not sure if I said good evening, but if I haven't, good evening now. Andy, we need a minimum 6 wins and a couple of draws. Where will we get the 6 wins? Well, we were asking that before we played Spurs and Sunderland, and look, we got 2 out of the 8 that we needed already. So yeah, I don't know. Burnley's got to be a win away. Won't be easy, but it's got to be a win away. Martin, hypothetical question again. If we got relegated but won a trophy and had European football, could we cope with playing the Championship and in Europe? Well, as has just been mentioned, we would need a really big squad. So that would be the one. Not to piss on anyone's parade, but we ain't winning the FA Cup. How dare you, John? How dare you piss on our parade? Mark, Chelsea play on Wednesday and then us on Saturday. Slight advantage to us, maybe, but like I said earlier on, they've got a huge, huge squad, haven't they? Right. Let's go into the match. Let's talk a little bit about the match itself. And to do that, I've got to take a drink break. So there you go. So the game on Saturday. Now I did a review straight after the game. For those of you who saw it, we were in the supporters club, and there was more banter than there was talking about the game itself. So I did a reflection show on Sunday as well. If you haven't watched that, please do so. when you can. But let's just go over just the basics of this game, because um, it was enjoyable, to say the least. First of all, no changes to the lineup, the same 11, and I'm pleased about that. And when I start looking at the bench now, someone mentioned a moment ago that we're losing more players than we're gaining in this transfer window. But you look at the bench. You got a sub goalie. You got Walker Peters, who's decent. Kilman, okay, Kilman. We know we need a better defender there. Malik Diouf is back from AFCON. We've got Potts, Magassa, young Kante. We've got Wilson up front, who's a good to come off the bench. And surprise, surprise, we had Ward-Prose. So when you look at that and you think about Rodriguez gone and Irving gone and Guilherme gone and Vera and Paqueta not there, etc., and you look at that bench and you say to yourself, that's not bad. That's not that bad. We need maybe a bit more dynamism, but people are happy with having Wilson there. We've got a couple of youngsters from the academy in Potts and Kante. We've got Diouf, who's back from AFCON. It's going to be quite a challenge now as to who Nuno decides to play at left back, whether Diouf comes back in or whether a very, very excellent Skulls keeps his place. Got Walker Peters with experience. And you look and you go, okay, if I need to change any of that, maybe a better keeper, another keeper, and maybe someone else for Kilman. And what else? Maybe another midfielder, maybe, or a wide player, as we're going for Traore. So if the rumours are true and that we are getting another keeper, we are getting a central defender and Adama Traore coming in, then you look at that bench and then you kind of go, that's not bad. We've got a decent starting lineup. We've got some decent players off that will come off the bench as well. So we're spending wisely. We don't have to spend a fortune in order to get ourselves out of this trouble. We've got to spend wisely. Now, like I said a moment ago, I don't think we necessarily spent wisely when it came to paying £20 million for Pablo. But if Pablo can help us stay up, then money well spent. So I'm not worried that other teams down there are spending £40 million on a striker and that sort of stuff. Good luck to them. But if we spend wisely and can continue to get players in that can make a difference, and that's the important thing, you want players that can make a difference, then all fair and well. So we've got more players coming in. But then, the lineup on Saturday was the same. It was good. We set up on the front foot. Someone mentioned attacking in the first half, defensive in the second half. I don't mind that. Now, that's happened twice. It happened against Spurs, and it happened again against Sunderland in the first half. We're all gung-ho, getting goals, etc. And in the second half, now, the difference between what I saw being at Spurs last weekend and then being at the game at the London Stadium on Saturday was that against Spurs, we were pressed back in the second half. A lot of people were saying, oh my God, move forward, don't let them have space. But there's a difference sometimes where a team is actually pressing you back. And I think that's what Spurs were doing the weekend before last. Whereas on Saturday, I felt we sat back a little bit. We were 3-0 up. I can get it mentally. Oh, well, we're winning 3-0, etc., which isn't always the best thing to do. But we did sit back a little bit more because maybe some of us thought the game was already won. But this is West Ham United. As people have said in the chat, you could be 3 or 4-0 up. Is that going to be enough to keep us, to give us a win? And sometimes we've seen it in the past. We've seen it in the past where we've been, a handsome lead and then losing it. So that's the difference between what happened against Spurs and what happened against Sunderland in the second half. Against Spurs, we were being pressed back. Against Sunderland, we sat back a little bit more. But having said that, when I think about the way we've gone about both games, there was an awful lot more fight, an awful lot more endeavour. We were battling for 50-50 chances, far more than we have been throughout the season. And I've looked up some stats, and the stats are really quite interesting. We only had 47% possession, but that's okay. That's okay. And I know at home, I know it's quite a big thing for some fans. Oh, we need possession. But, 47, I've always said it's what you do with possession rather than how much of it you have. 13 shots on target. 13 shots, of which 5 were on target. For them, they only had 5 shots, only 2 were on target. Our pass accuracy rate was 77%. We're crossing the ball more, 13 attempted crosses. And it's interesting to see a tactical change where Summerville and Bowen, if they can't cut in to try and take a shot, then what they're doing is they're taking the ball to the byline and they're crossing it with their weaker foot. And it proved to be successful because that's how we got our first goal. Bowen crossing it with his right foot, and of all the people, Summerville leapt like a Sam. I didn't know he could climb that high. Bullet header, fantastic. But another tactical switch. We had a 64% tackle success rate. 64%. 16 success to their 46%. 16 successful tackles to their 6. 3 crosses blocked to their none. They didn't block any of our crosses. 60 duels won to their 44. That to me is showing this is a team on the up without a shadow of a doubt. We look more coherent as a team. We have a better understanding of what everyone needs to be doing. We seem together. We're playing on the front foot. We brought players back in that we thought were kind of a little bit finished and should be bit part players, like Thomas Souček in the middle of the park and alongside Matthias Fernandes. Who would have thought after Magassa and the youngster Potts, etc., that we've had in the lineup? Who would have thought that the actual successful midfield duo would be Souček and Fernandes? Odd, but it works. Now, over the past few weeks, we've seen several players shine. And if there's any downside to what happened, it was, like I said at the beginning of the show, Nottingham Forest winning, and Leeds, let's hope they do lose, but they're now drawing. So that's the downside to me. And the downside, not keeping a clean sheet. It would have been nice to have kept a clean sheet. But as you've all been saying in the chat, we've got to look out now for Spurs, got to look out for Crystal Palace. They could be dragged into this. We're 8 points behind those two particular teams, but we do have an inferior goal difference, which means, we need to win 3 more games than they do. But who knows? A few weeks ago, I would have said that would be impossible. But after our last 3 games, I would say that anything is now possible. We've got players ticking. And I've talked about this in the reflection show that I did on Sunday. You've got to give credit to the likes of Areola in goal, another player who gets an awful lot of stick from us fans, pulling off some fantastic saves that have kept us in games. Ollie Scarles coming of age after the error against Fulham. He's shown such a maturity and a discipline since that error. Our 2 new players, as we've already discussed in the chat, putting in shifts, really pushing themselves to demonstrate that they really want to be part of this fight. And of course, the likes of Crescencio Summerville, all of a sudden beginning to find an awful lot of form. And of course, Matthias Fernandes, who I said at the beginning of the season wasn't worth the 40 million that we paid for him. And I'm glad I'm wrong. He was imperious on Saturday. He dominated that midfield alongside Souček. He covered at the back, was excellent with his passing range, and his shooting ability is now an added bonus. Summerville is doing what we all kind of hoped he would do the minute we bought him. And that's using his pace, his power, his skill, running at the opposition. You could see that they worried. The minute Summerville's running at them, they're backing off because they don't want to trip him up and give away a penalty. We've got a formula, finally. We've got a plan. And now we need some decent backup to ensure that if any of our players do pick up knocks or suspensions, that backup can come in and step in seamlessly. So I was pleased with the game. I said in the reflection show that of the 3 games that we've won in succession, this one to me, the one against Sunderland, was the most satisfying. Why? Because it proved that the game against Spurs wasn't a fluke. I think we kind of expected and hoped that we wouldn't trip up against QPR in the FA Cup. But when it came to this game, that's why it was satisfying for me, because it proved that we didn't just come away with any kind of, it wasn't a fluke against Spurs because we played really well. But the fact that we followed it up with the same kind of performance and the same kind of result, to me, kept it really, really satisfying. Right, let's go into your chat and then I'll finish off the show giving you all the updates on transfers, because there's a lot going on. So, 8 Barley, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Looks like Baldy has decided to ruin Ward-Prose's weekends as well as weekdays. Can't see him getting to play much. Look, I'm pleased that Ward-Prose was on the subs bench. It's a step forward. He may not play, but at least it shows respect to him that he's remained professional. And you're right, he may not get any game time. Sean, Guilherme started Sporting's last 2 league games. I understand he's doing quite well. He started at left back or something, didn't he? JWP must have stopped leaving toupees around the training ground. Dark Star. I agree, but Palace, on the other hand, are losing players and losing games. They're the ones to catch, I think. I think you might be right. They're man Spurs. DC, referee doing a nice job of killing the game off and saving leads. Is it still 1-1? Michael, Pablo money spent to line Mendes' pocket. Well, possible. Steve, Palace away needs to be one of our wins. Absolutely. All the teams around us now, whoever we've got left to play, we've got to beat. We beat Spurs. We've got to beat Palace. Pity we didn't beat Forest. Pity we got to beat Burnley. Pity we didn't beat Wolves. But yeah, agreed. Andrew, we are going to need a lot of good fortune, i.e. injuries, VAR, and one or two teams falling off a cliff. I think the latter will be the one that we're looking at. Colin, Stel, is Magassa going to be sold because he was on the bench? He was on the bench. He won't be sold. David, not this window. Not this window. David, sorry, never be sorry for being late, mate. I hope you're well. Saturday proved that there's nothing wrong with the atmosphere in that stadium when the football is engaging. I totally agree there as well. Because the atmosphere for a Saturday afternoon kickoff was really, really good. Jonathan, thank you, mate. Much appreciated. And thank you for coming on and putting in your comments. Daniela, remember last season we started to pick up points in the last 6 to 8 games from 17th to 14th. And that's exactly what we've got to do. 1-1. Right, okay, we'll take that. Wouldn't we? Rather than Leeds winning. So that's okay. Who else have we got here? Billow. Draw for Leeds, push on now, beat Chelsea, Burnley and United. And there we go. Don't want too much then, do we? Bowling Lounge. Sorry not to be too engaged in the chat. I've been watching. Absolutely no problem, mate. You go ahead. Moyes angry with the players because they were supposed to defend the 1-0, not attack. Dark Star. Next weekend's game are going to be a good watch. Hopefully Arsenal beat Leeds and we beat Chelsea. Then it's just 3 points. We've got a dream. As I keep saying, football is theatre. It happens. It unfolds in front of you. It is theatre. You don't know what's going to happen. This is why when sometimes people go, I can't be bothered. I'm not going to the game. I can't be. Well, why not? Oh, you know what's going to happen. We're going to get thumped. You don't know because it's live and you don't know what's going to happen. That's why, and sometimes after a game when we've been defeated and I'm coming home from Burnley or whatever it is and we've lost, well, not Burnley but any other place, and people go, I'm really sorry for you for having watched that, and I go, you know what, it's my choice, because I could go up there and we could have a win and I'd be at cock-a-hoop when I'm coming back from a game, and other times I'll be going to a game distance and upset because we've lost. But this is football. It unfolds in front of you. It's drama. That's why it can be the most irritating game in the world, and at the same time it can be the most rewarding and satisfying. After Spurs last weekend, because of my recent operation, I can't really drink that much, but I got absolutely hammered afterwards. I wasn't in a good state when I got home, but that was why, because we didn't expect the win. We got a handsome win. It was fantastic. We played really well, and so you're going to celebrate, and sometimes you commiserate, but what was my point? I'm going to have to reread your comment there. Hopefully, so that's what we hope, Arsenal to beat. Look at what happened with Arsenal. Did anyone think they were going to lose to Man United? Of course not. Look at what Leeds and various other teams, that Forest, did we think they were going to beat Brentford? I didn't think they would. That's why there is hope. There is hope. Fly. God, I went off on one, didn't I, there? Souček has some clear weaknesses, but when he has the right partner in midfield, his strengths shine through more than the weaknesses. Absolutely. And Souček, he's been a great servant to West Ham United. Gaza. Everton have got a really bad home record, so I'll take 11. So we'll take 11 all day long. I'll take 1-1 all day long, sorry. Who else we got? Marky Boy. Stel, did I see the Masuaku comment? No, I didn't. What was that? You're going to have to write it again, Ian. Tammy Abraham going to Villa for 18 mil. We spent 25 mil on each on 2 championship. But Marky Boy, like we said earlier on, we don't know Tammy Abraham is going to be successful at Villa. He might end up being a dud. But if Tati and Pablo are going to do the business for West Ham United, it'd be money well spent. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. James. So at least 2 points gained on all our rivals, bar Forest. Not a bad weekend at all. There you go. That's the way you've got to look at it. We've gained 2 points on teams above us. Andrew. Burnley away, Wolves at home, Palace. Burnley away, Wolves home, Palace away, Leeds home, Everton home. Still to play 21 points if we were to win those games. Not impossible. Burnley away. Have we still got Wolves to play at home? It must do. Palace away. Burnley, I'm hoping to win. Wolves at home, hoping to win. Palace away. We can get something from that. Leeds at home, hoping to win. Everton at home. Look, we've got some winnable games there. We have got some winnable games there. You're absolutely right. Mark, can't stand listening to the Chelsea fans bang on the hoardings when they score. Hopefully it's the only noise they make because it's dead as a dodo there at times. Graham, same at Arsenal. Same. I think Leeds is probably one of the few grounds where the fans and Forest where the home fans make noise. Graham, watching on TV on Saturday, the atmosphere seemed to be much better than the usual crowd. Have a huge part to play in our survival. Absolutely, it was good. The atmosphere was good. There was not so much an expectation, but as Nuno said, we're connecting with the fans, and the more football like that they give us, the more the fans will connect, and the better the atmosphere will get in the stadium. Randy, all right, everyone. Hope you're all good. Hope you had a nice weekend. Hope you had a nice week. Do you think we'll get the signings needed once the Paqueta sale has gone through? I do, Randy. I do. The Paqueta sale should be finalised by tomorrow or Wednesday at the latest. And we've got players coming in already. I'm going to go through all the transfers in just a moment. Daniel, we create an atmosphere at the stadium just like Upton Park. Loving just getting over the move. Get over the move. It's done. We're not going back. Absolutely. Michael Stell, has Paco saved Nuno the Sacco? Could he be our different maker? It could be. We're giving him a lot of credit. We don't know if it's him, but it feels like Tuca. It's a bit like when we got Barbosa, the goalie coach. All of a sudden, Areola started to get better, and now we've got Paco, and all of a sudden we're starting to play on the front foot. Coincidence? I don't know. But these are men that Nuno trusts. Not that I'm saying that he doesn't trust our backroom staff from the under-21s, etc. But these are coaches that Nuno knows. Rui Barbosa and Paco Gemes, he knows them. And I guess there's that element of sort of a bit more faith in them. And the fact that Gemes is telling Nuno what he thinks of him when Nuno looks like he's making a mistake is good to see. Billo, if Tammy Abraham had done as much running as Tati or Pablo in the last 2 games, he'd have been injured already. Good point. Marky boy. Burnley, Bournemouth, Wolves, Palace, Everton, Leeds, last game of the season are 6 winnable games. There you go. We've got winnable games. We absolutely do. Darren, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Didn't realise you were doing a live show Monday night, Darren. Monday night. West Ham Weekly. Just watch the Leeds game. At least we are 6 points behind them, and we need a new centre-back, central attacking midfielder, not a goalie. Bloody wasting money. You reminded me. I've still got that. Let's stop that. Let's finish that poll and end the poll. So I'm going to give you that result in just a moment. It's a clear winner, though. Robin, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I'll never get over leaving Upton Park. Boy to man standing in the same spot. Well, I know. But we have to move on. I'm the same. We are all the same. But, unfortunately, we have to move on. Is the London Stadium the best? Not necessarily. Can we make it good? Yeah, we can. Poll results. What is the most urgent now in the transfer window? Central defender, creative midfielder, striker, or goalie? Of the results, 1% for goalie, 5% for striker, 5% for central midfielder, and an astounding 89% for a central defender. That's what hopefully we're going to get over the next few days before the transfer window shuts. Randy, I do think we're seeing already Paco Gemes' influence already with the attacking side. With Nuno, hopefully we get the 2 styles to blend together and hope get the results we needed. Right, let's go into the transfers, shall we? Because it's important. We need it. We know we're coming up to, we got a week left. Now, interestingly, the transfer window shuts next Friday and next Monday, sorry. And of course, that's the day when I do the West Ham Weekly. I'm going to double check. Someone I'm sure will tell me in the chat what time the transfer window shuts. So if the transfer window happens while, in my usual time, I do a West Ham Weekly special to do a transfer window special. If it closes before I go on, then I'll do a post transfer window review of the players that we brought, the players that we left, and all that. So let's start off with all the rumours, because the first thing, of course, apart from the whole Paqueta fiasco that just seems to be endless, is that apparently Roma have made a verbal bid for Crescencio Summerville to the tune of £21 million tonight. Now, although this is interesting, it's not Spurs anymore, it's another club coming in for him. It demonstrates that Summerville's form has been noticed and is picking up interest. Now, when senior sources were asked about this particular move, the answer we got was he won't be leaving this window. That was it. So anyone can bid anything. He won't be leaving this one. Now, that does open it up a little bit. He won't be leaving in this window. Well, that means he's going in the summer. Well, if we get relegated, not only he will go in the summer, but most of our players will go in the summer. That's the way I'm reading that. But the answer was he won't be leaving in this window. So Roma, Spurs, and whoever else is interested in him, you're going to have to bide your time. If we get relegated, yeah, we're going to have to accept that we're probably going to lose him in the summer. So I wouldn't be worried about that just yet. You're going to hear an awful lot more stories about Crescencio Summerville leaving, but it simply isn't going to happen. So I can tell you now, you can ignore those comments. What we do know is that Guido Rodriguez has now officially left West Ham. I think it went on the West Ham official website about an hour or so ago, or just before I started the show. So it's confirmed he's gone. Now, we asked how much did we get for him. Apparently the transfer fee was described as a token fee. Now, he was on about 75 grand a week, so we're saving money there. And the token fee is anyone's guess. I would wager a token fee is probably no more than about £2 to £3 million. Okay, we didn't get a bigger fee than that, but then he did come to us for nothing. So a win-win. I think. Now, I would imagine that a token fee is probably adequate enough to bring in Adama Traore, who my understanding is going to be announced either tomorrow, on Tuesday, or at the latest Wednesday. Now, when asked about him, Traore fee. Now, I know we kept hearing about 7 million. My understanding is it's probably going to be no more than about 5 million, but it's going to be heavily incentivized. What do I mean by that? Basically, most of the transfer fee that we're going to pay for him is going to be on the premise that we don't go down. So it's going to be a couple of mil if we do go down. It'll be anything up to about 5 million if we don't go down. So there's an incentive there for him to help us out of the relegation zone. Now, apparently there were murmurs, there were conversations between him and Nuno last week about whether he was going to join West Ham or not, because he wanted guaranteed game time. No one can be guaranteed game time, but he wanted to know, I've misphrased that, my apologies. He wanted to know how much game time he would likely get. And I think Nuno's convinced him that he's going to be definitely part of his plans. So we're going to see Traore being used as an impact sub. That's what my understanding is. So look, just like with any other player that we sign, it doesn't matter if they cost 5 million, 10 million, 50 million. So long as they do the business, so long as they help us, then I'm going to be, applauding Traore. He's not my favorite. I'm not a big fan of his. I never was. But if he can help us to win points, then so be it. Now, sticking with Fulham, because that's where Traore is coming from, news tonight is that we're trying to muscle in on a deal that they seem to have in place for PSV striker Ricardo Pepi. Now, 23-year-old striker, American international, been with PSV since 2023 when he moved from German club Augsburg for about 11 million euros. In 90 appearances for PSV, he scored 37 goals with 8 assists, of which 11 of those goals have been this season. 3 of those have been in the Champions League. Apparently, we offered £21 million for the player last summer, but that was turned down by PSV. In this window, Fulham have apparently made an offer of 27 million, which is being considered. He's an interesting talent. I do wonder how true this link is, given that we're desperately crying out for central defenders. So if we were to get him, if we really were going in for him, I worry slightly that this could really be the goodbye for Callum Wilson. I think Pepe is a good player. I don't know if he'll make it in the Premier League, but then, you know, that's a gamble on any player that plays abroad and haven't had experience of the Premier League. But he's an American international. You know, he's highly regarded. So it's going to be interesting if we really are trying to get in on the act there. Another striker. Is Nuno planning to win his way out of this, score more goals than the opposition to... That sounded weird, didn't it? Because that's actually realistic, trying to win, trying to score more goals to get us all the wins by bringing in more strikers. Everyone thought that Nuno was not an attack-minded manager, and yet he could be bringing in a third striker in this window. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Anyway, there now seems to be several new names added to our defender search, with Atalanta centre-back Isak Hein. Someone said earlier on they didn't think much of Hien, but he's a Swedish international, captain of the Swedish team. And apparently he's top of Nuno's wish list. But then so many other defenders have been top of Nuno's wish list and nothing's happened. Isak Hein signed for Atalanta in 2024 for a fee of just under €9 million. He's still got 2 years remaining on his contract. So why should he swap Champions League football for a Premier League relegation fight? I can't say I know why, except that West Ham are a Premier League team, can offer him a bigger salary, bigger contract, and the deal is said to be a loan with an obligation to buy should we stay in the Premier League, should we avoid the drop. So there's a safety net for him. If we go down, he can just wave goodbye and that'll be that. So it's a win-win for the player. Up until recently, the Swedish international, as I said, he's captain of the Swedish team. He's been a regular starter for Atalanta, but more often lately, he's been used from the bench. So perhaps the offer of more regular game time, or indeed the offer of a starting berth in this West Ham side, could be tempting him, could be another temptation for him to come. 27 years of age, he can also demonstrate his worth in the best league in the world. So maybe a deal for him might not be as far-fetched as we might think. It'll be valued at between 25 to 30 million euros, but if a Paquetá windfall is on its way, then that'll be more than affordable. Dare I say we spend 25, spend all that money plus a bit more on yet another striker and a central defender? Yeah, what is going on, West Ham United? He combines pace, he's got aerial power, he's got ball carrying skills, he's aggressive on one-on-one defending. He's best deployed as a right-sided centre-back in a back three, where his recovery speed and ability to step into midfield are maximised. Now, that would allow Nuno to... we know he prefers playing like a 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1 kind of formation, or 3-4-1-2 formation. It would allow Nuno to revert back to having 3 at the back. But we're doing so well with 4 at the back, and it's freeing up the likes of Bowen and Summerville. Would it disrupt that flow? Maybe having 3 up front, Tati, Bowen, Summerville as the 3 up front, 3 at the back, and then 4 in midfield could work. That could work. Now, one player I'm saying with absolute confidence ain't coming to West Ham United is Harry Maguire. Now, out of contract at the end of the season, Maguire's already stated that he won't be signing a new deal at Man United, leaves him available as a free agent. And despite some of our fans believing he's crap, which he's not, I'm sure there'll be a queue of teams who will want to sign this player once he is a free agent. Maguire turned us down during Moyes' reign, and I dare say he won't be on the top of, we won't be on the top of his wish list of clubs that he would want to play at. I actually think Maguire is a good defender. I do. He's a good leader, something we need, but alas, I can't see him having, I can't see any chance of us going for him. And anyway, it won't be in this window. It'll be more likely in the summer if we stay up. Let's not forget, though, that he's on a massive weekly wage. What was it? I think someone quoted something like 250, 300,000 pound a week at Man United. That alone will mean that he's not coming to West Ham. It looks as if James Ward-Prose is going to be staying at West Ham. Well, for the time being at the moment, because there's still a whole week to go. But the talks with Burnley have been withdrawn. Those discussions have stopped. So apparently they were looking to loan him, but wages, and a lot of them, are the main reason for his potential deal collapsing. And finally, of course, we have the Lucas Paqueta saga ongoing. Now, I was told early this morning that, and I know you've all read about it now, so it's old news already, but I was told early this morning that the Paqueta deal, where we're asking to loan him back to the club, is off the table now. So now the offer stands at roughly £40 million, with far fewer heavily incentivized add-ons and a much better pay structure than previously was on offer. West Ham are insisting on the pay structure to be over three chunks. But that's at the moment is a bit of a downside to Flamengo, who want to pay it over a longer period of time. Now, had West Ham, when I think about why, I kept trying to work out why did we keep asking Flamengo to loan him back to West Ham? Well, I think potentially sometimes you've got to take your hat off and say credit where credit's due. Potentially, if he was loaned back to West Ham, that alone, his salary alone, would be worth around £3 million, 150 grand a week over the next sort of 18, 19 weeks until the contract ended, end of June, would have been worth about 3 mil. So with the offer of 35 million plus about 3 million in them paying his salary for him to stay on loan at us, would have ended up around about a 38, 39 million pound deal. So I think they were using it as a bartering tool. I don't think for one moment West Ham really wanted him to stay on loan. I think it was just used as a bartering tool. But now it looks like the deal is getting a lot closer. Look, hats off to West Ham. How many times have we said, as a club, we're awful at selling players, and we don't make proper money on players? We're not going to make all our money back on Paqueta, but the £51 million deal that was originally agreed, that was heavily incentivized as well. So I don't know how much of that, how much of the add-ons have been achieved. But to get £40 million back after he's been with us, 3 years, something like that, I don't think it's a bad thing. 28 years of age, he kind of hasn't quite really been a consistent, fantastic performer for it. When you think about the likes of Bowen as an example, where he's been, he's had a bad season this season, but most other seasons he's been with us, he's been fantastic. Paqueta, you can't say has had that. And all the headaches that have gone with him, that the spot fixing charges, the this, that, and the other, there's always seems to be something going on in order to excuse him not pulling out all the stops for West Ham. I will be happy, with the greatest of respect to him, to see this particular part of the circus go. We will be forever grateful for his through ball to Bowen, which won us the Europa Conference a couple of years back. Absolutely. But for me, we've still got, we've got players. We are looking better as a team. If we got that £40 million for him, give or take, and start using that, we need a central defender. If it can bring us two or three more players in, then money well spent. Someone mentioned earlier, well, we've already spent the Paqueta money, but I think there's still some more deals to happen. I'm pretty much convinced now, where I wasn't before the transfer window opened. I'm pretty much convinced that we are going to get ourselves at least a minimum another 2 players through the window. Traore is about done. Do we get another keeper? Is a possibility, and a central defender, and that might just be our lot. And if it means that's where we use most of the Paqueta money, then so be it. So be it. But we have proved over and over again that we don't need him. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but the way he's leaving West Ham United, we always knew that he was leaving at the beginning of the season. We knew it would be his last season. What we didn't know was that he was going to pull something like this halfway through the season. We know he wants to leave, family matters and all that sort of stuff, but nonetheless, we've stuck by him, and I think we expected him to stick by us, and that's not been the case. So farewell. And that will be probably done and dusted. You might hear, well, not might, you'll definitely hear more about it on Tuesday. I think the deal will either be finalised on Tuesday or 100% will be done by Wednesday. So there's still plenty of things happening. There's still players leaving, players coming in. And as I mentioned earlier on in the show, you know, someone mentioned earlier on that we're worried about having more players leaving than coming. But like I said, when you look at the subs bench, you know, you got your first 11. When you look at the subs bench, if you're going to replace any of those players on the bench, possibly the keeper, possibly almost definitely Kilman, and who else? Who else would you replace? Ward-Prose. So there's maybe your 3 players that we could get in. Or, as I've mentioned earlier, could we be going for another striker, a goalie, a defender, and another striker? That would be interesting as well. That's your lot. Let's go through the chat and let's see what comments you have. Let's scroll down and see what we have. Let's go start with Colin. Still, I'm getting it in the head from my Chelsea mates saying they are looking forward to the match, for they are hoping they will play like we have been and come out to attack them, telling we get beaten. Well, let them. If they're going to be cocky, that's good for us. Well, I thought it was 7 p.m., which is why I suggested that my show may not be on. But below, you're saying 11 p.m., so I don't know which it is. So if anyone can look it up for me, it'd be appreciated. Randy's saying, yeah, I think it's 11. Normally it is, but I know it could have been last year where the transfer window shut early. But a few people are saying 11 p.m. There you go, 7 p.m. Yeah, I've got 7 p.m. in my head as well. So thank you for that. Iron Discipline. Sorry, not Discipline. Iron Disciple. New glasses. I blame the new glasses. Trod Star Trek. I'm not qualified to talk about the 80s, 90s, but I've always wondered why in the 60s when they didn't have seatbelts, despite being in the future. I love how you lot go off on a tangent. Fantastic. Marky. Give it 10 years with old school fans falling away at the rate, then nobody going to games will even remember we run up to them. It's a generational thing. You know, with the greatest of respect to the old guard, it's a generational thing. Absolutely. Randy, Roma is a good club, 3rd in Serie A, but should not sell him anyway. Why are they selling? What's his name? You know, I thought he was doing all right there. No. Darren, money talks, I guess. Did you read Rodriguez's farewell message? He wasn't a superb player, tried his best, but he definitely loves the fans and the club. Haven't read it, but that's nice of him to have given us a farewell. I'll read it later on. Darren, I put Traore and Wilson on in the last 20 minutes and let them batter the defence. Yeah, absolutely. Who else have we got? Jack. Everton were so poor but still drew with Leeds. Without Grealish, they are toothless. Apache, is that why we're signing Traore to muscle in on Pepe's deal? Boom, boom. Who else have we got? Randy, I think we need a younger striker, but still we need a centre-back, another 10 when Paqueta goes, and possibly a box-to-box player still. We're not going to get all that. So one midfielder out of those, a strike. I would be shocked if we actually do go for another striker. We absolutely do need a centre back. I'm not so sure we're going to get another Paqueta type player, because I think now this is Matthias Fernandez's time, and he's going to demonstrate what he is capable of. Trudge, that Hien looks decent. I can't say I've seen him play, but from what I read about him in the scouting reports, sounds good. Traore, such a waste of money, Jack. Lost his pace, overbulked, tires out so quickly. It's probably why we might only give him about 10 minutes at the end of each game. English Yardy, I hope you're well. No player is bigger than a club. Respect to Paqueta, thank you, but see you later. Excuse me, that's exactly what I think as well, mate. Exactly what I think. Randy, feel like we need to go for it this last week and make sure the squad is stronger when we first started than weaker come the deadline. I think it is. You know, the players that I think have gone, we're not going, oh my God, we've lost so-and-so. That's going to crucify us. I've seen a few people say that about Paqueta, but I'm not overly convinced that it's going to be such a big deal for us to lose him. I don't mean that disrespectfully to him, but I really don't think it's going to hurt us. Sean, Maguire will end up at Bayern, probably end up at Bayern. They love Premier League, the Premiership pensioners, but he'll probably do another 2 or 3 years there. Absolutely. Tracy, seriously, do we really want players who are in the Swedish national side, given that Potter is in charge? That's a that's I didn't. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Forgot about that. English Yardie. Flamengo can afford 40 million. Don't forget they did well in World Club Championship. They've got money. They've got money. They just don't want to give us it. They thought they could. They really think. I think they thought they were going to come in and go. There's 30 million. Have done with it. You know. And we've played hardball and fair dues. Fair dues. We finally sort of maybe winning that particular little battle. Paqueta checked out when his Man City move fell through. It's been a long time coming. Leon, it's turned sour. He hasn't been missing for some time. He has been missing for some time. Frog, respect to Pac when he was turning up way back when. I'm just going to get rid of that. Let's put ban and delete their comments. Thank you for that, idiot. Sean, I don't believe the board sponsored propaganda. Thanks, Lucas. We move on. Marky, Ryan, Flamingo, PSV. What, who, where? Ryan, Flamingo, PSV. What did Ryan say? Can't see Ryan's comments, so I don't know what that means, but I'm sure it's meaningful. Mango, tell Roma to jog on. Don't worry. They're jogging on. English Yardie. Paqueta is a very good player, but not for West Ham. Good luck to him. Iron Disciple. Paqueta was good, but took the tinted goggles off. But I took the tinted goggles off. He wasn't great, or he was great. There was an old saying: when it comes to what holds the best back, it's always to do with the back home. And you play with shy, you get shy. I'm getting what you're saying. You know, he was surrounded by not very good players, so I don't know. You know, because sometimes when you've got look at Declan, you know, you can't say he always had a really good team around him, but he shone through that, you know, and he proved what a good player he could be. That's what I was expecting with Lucas Paqueta. I thought he was going to become one of the leaders when Declan left, and he hasn't taken on that mantle. Gaza, still, we need a midfielder, mate, as well as we got rid of Irvin Rodriguez, Paqueta. That's 3 midfielders gone. But look back again, mate, at what I showed there. You've got Potts, you've got Ward-Prose. Maybe Ward-Prose won't be around. You've got Magassa, you've got Kante. Maybe a midfielder, but he wouldn't. A midfielder wouldn't be on the top of my priority list, to be honest with you. Thank you, Graham. Much appreciated, mate. Fly Fox, I kind of wish we had signed Brownhill. We needed leadership in the team. He would have given us some hope. But do you remember the stick that people were getting, the suggestion that Brownhill might be coming? Everyone was convinced we would sign him. Smokey, could it all come down to our last game? Imagine that. Imagine if it came down to the last game at home. We needed a win or a draw against Leeds to stay up. Darren, good to see you at the weekend, mate. I hope all is well with you. I got a message from Tony earlier on. He's telling me the countdown. And he's promised to buy me a pint. And I told him that Wiggy will buy him one back. Sean, Marshall scored 8 minutes into his Bochum debut. He did indeed. Michael, to Leon, the bobbing wall stand slung me off last night because before I could say hello to you. Oh, why did they do that to you? Who else we got? Fly Fox. Paqueta scored as many goals as this season than Danny Ings or Fulkrug did in all their time with us. Fair play, but a couple of them were from the penalty spots. Mark, sorry. We have let 6 players go, got 2 in. We're 1 or 2 injuries away from disaster. Need more players. I agree, we need more players in. And as I said earlier in the show, we'll be getting a couple more. Here we go again. Sorry, people. Let me just ban him as well. We've got an idiot that's creating new accounts and then coming in and hurling abuse. We don't want that. That's it. We're down to the bottom. I know these idiots are a stick of shite. They absolutely are. West Ham 5CP. Thank you very much, mate. That's your lot, people. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all very much for getting involved, and thank you very much for getting involved in the poll as well. That that QR code. You can scroll on it. If you're not yet a member, if you're not yet a subscriber, you can click on that QR code and it will take you straight to the subscription page. Subscription is free of charge. If you've enjoyed it, hit that like button, hit the hype button. And thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all very much for listening to me rabbiting on. And I'm sure I'll be back in the next day or two with the latest updates on transfers. So do watch out for that. Have a very good evening. Have a great week. And I'll see you all very soon.